Good morning, everybody, and I hope that you're having a wonderful day. This is Tony Giordano. I know we have quite a lot of people on this morning's call, so I hope everybody across the nation is having a wonderful day, depending on what markets and cities that you're in. Today, we are going to talk about what is lead generation and what is lead assumption. Before I get into the PowerPoint, I'm going to kind of just give you guys some reminders of what to expect for the upcoming calls, the upcoming topics, how it's all going to work. At the end of this session, we are going to be discussing questions and answers that some of you might have. I hope that we can get to as many questions as we can. But if we don't, then on the next call, definitely try again. And never forget that you can always email us and ask your questions inside our own email system, where we can at least have myself or my staff answer as many questions as we can. So a few things that we want to go over today is we're going to be, you guys should see the PowerPoint being uploaded at any moment here. And also, can everybody hear me? If you want, you can go ahead and chat and say something or anything. If you have any issues, then we'll be here to help you as much as we can. So welcome to Rise Group Coaching. Now, for those that have joined, you all know that I'm very passionate about the word skill enhancement. So Rise stands for Relevant, Innovative Skill Enhancement. I've always been very passionate about enhancing people's skill set, and not just a level of babysitting coaching or how many calls did you make this week? Okay, how are we going to overcome that obstacle next week? Our coaching platform is built on enhancing people's natural skill set and also helping them integrate and implement maybe some things that they're not doing well, or some more modern day approaches to building relationships, lead generation, prospecting, building your brand, marketing, all of the above. Now, what we're first going to do is on our next call, which would be September 23rd, 2019 at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And this should be in your calendars every 2 weeks. So if you have not put in the Rise call in your calendar today, recurring every 2 weeks at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, make sure you do, so it always reminds you the night before, maybe on Sunday, that the call is the next morning. And of course, they're always pre-recorded or recorded for you to listen to after. Q&A sessions will be at the end of every call. A video was sent to you on how to add all of the classes to your calendar and how you can stay notified. Any materials, scripts, action plans, etc., will be sent out within a couple of weeks after each training. I want to make sure everybody takes a note. Not all trainings have additional materials. So take, for instance, today. Today we're not getting into a script. Today we're talking about getting really, really purposeful when it comes to lead generation and prospecting, and how to actually ask the questions. So you won't have a follow-up email of an action plan or a particular script. Everything that you're going to see and hear today, you can either listen to again or just take notes. And then last but not least, the Facebook group for Rise members only will be opened in the next couple of weeks. We will make sure that we notify everybody as soon as it's launched. We're just working out a couple kinks and making sure it's at the level we want it to be. Take notes today as much as you can. What is lead generation? What is lead assumption? Lead assumption. You'll never really hear anybody say this word. We always talk about lead generation in this industry. Your coaches, your teachers, your leaders, lead gen, lead gen, lead gen, lead gen, lead gen. And we know what it is. It's going out there and trying to pretty much get business from people, whether you pay for the leads or you go generate the lead for free organically. Lead assumption is pretty much what 95% of all agents in America do every single day. And unfortunately, most of them think that they're lead generating when they're actually lead assuming. What do I mean by that? What's the meaning behind this? Examples of lead assumption. You create a billboard or a bus bench advertisement or a shopping cart, assuming it's going to produce a lead. You do a direct mail campaign, assuming it's going to produce a lead, meaning I'm going to send out 1,000 direct mailers to this farm of mine, and I'm going to assume that somebody's going to call me off of this. Email campaigns. So when you send out these big blasts out to email databases that you might have or that you might have purchased, and you send out this email blast with the hopes and assumption it's going to produce a lead. Networking events. Actually going to a networking event and handing out your business card, assuming, once again, it's going to produce a lead. Now, some of you on the call might be thinking to yourself, wait a second, how is that not lead gen? How is not going to a networking event and mingling with business owners and people in my marketplace and making sure I tell them I'm an agent and handing them my card, how is that not lead generation? Well, we'll get there in a second. But handing out your card is assuming it's going to produce a lead. Door knocking. You actually go door knocking. Now, how many of you have heard that door knocking is lead generation? Well, yeah, depending on what level you did, though, when you were at the door. So just because you go door knocking doesn't mean you generated a lead. It doesn't even mean you attempted to generate a lead. You could have just been talking about whatever at the door. That wouldn't be lead generation. That would be lead assumption because you knocked on the door, they answered it, you talked about their garden, you talked about how cute their dog was. You said, well, hey, if you ever need anything, here's my card. That's lead assumption, assuming one day they're going to need something and call you. Adding friends on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or any online platform, once again, is lead assumption. Just because you added them doesn't necessarily mean that you generated a lead or even asked if they knew anyone. So I want to tell you a quick little story of when I came up with this, because I don't want anybody to have a different perspective on lead generation. I want to make sure everybody leaves this call today with a very new, genuine thought of what they have to do every single day when it comes to lead generation. For some of you on this call, and I know a lot of you, you know my story. You know, I got in the business in 1998 as a mortgage broker at the age of 20 years old, December of 98. Walked into a mortgage company to sell them a cell phone because, of course, the mortgage company window at the front door said no soliciting. So to a lead generator or to a salesperson, that means what? Welcome, of course. And I walked in and I was selling cell phones for AT&T, and I sold the manager a cell phone. And after I sold her a cell phone, she offered me a job. And within just a few months, this industry completely changed my life. I was literally 20 years old, turning 21 in 1999 now, rookie year as a mortgage broker, and made $100,000. It was insane. By the age of 26 in 2004, just 5 years later, I make my first million. 4 years later, from the age of 26, in 2008, turning 30, I now own 20 of my own mortgage offices throughout America. I have every toy you could possibly think of, from boats, cars, watches, art pieces, you name it, I had it. I'm building a couple spec homes, and I lose everything in less than 18 months. Actually, in less than 9 months in the 2008-2009 economic housing crisis that some of you have heard about and some of you went through. When I tell you I lost everything, ladies and gentlemen, everything. I went from an 812 FICO score to 496 in less than 9 months. Every one of my cars were repossessed, houses were foreclosed. All of my paintings, watches, and any material possessions were sold at 10 cents on the dollar. I literally lost everything in that crash because I was leveraged on everything. Now, that's a different presentation in a different coaching session that we're going to be discussing in the future. The reason I'm telling you the story is after I lost everything and I had no mortgages that I could do anymore, no one was getting loans, the housing market had completely tanked, I decided I'm done with mortgage, and I switched to the real estate sales side of the business. And I just said, I'm going to become an agent. And within 30 days of implementing some new strategies that some of you are going to hear very soon on future calls, I, within 30 days, got a $5.8 million listing from a random woman that I had added as a friend on Facebook after going to this class called Facebook 101, which will be a topic that we will also be covering in the next couple months. After I added her as a friend on Facebook, 3 weeks later, she referred me her father's $5.8 million spec home listing, thinking I was the god of real estate in Los Angeles, because perception is what? Everything. Perception is reality. And what she saw online of what I was doing, she said, this guy should definitely talk to my dad. My dad should definitely talk to him. Only being friends on Facebook for 3 weeks. The reason I'm sharing that is I sold that house 7 months later for 5.2. Was that lead generation? When I added her as a friend, not having any idea that 3 weeks later she would refer me her father's $5 million listing, could I call that lead generation? No, I'm not going to call that lead generation. I actually never took the time to lead generate her. I just added her as a friend. So that's another example of lead assumption, doing something assuming it's going to produce a lead. Lead assumption is simply putting yourself out there and assuming it will produce a lead. And a lot of people don't think of this or think that lead generation needs to be way more purposeful than lead assumption. Now, that being said, it will also make you an insane amount of money. Lead assumption, there's nothing wrong with lead assumption, just so everybody's clear, and I'm not saying anything's wrong with those things that we just went over. Direct mailers, going to networking events, telling people that you are a rock star real estate agent. There's nothing wrong with any of that, and it will make you an insane amount of money. Because, right, let's think about the lady I had added as a friend. That was a $120,000 commission check. So can we all agree that lead assumption will make you a lot of money? Yes, without question. Lead generation, though, lead generation is what less than 3% of real estate agents do across America. Now, lead assumption, the majority of agents do. The problem with lead assumption versus lead generation is lead assumption only works in a great market. What do you mean, Tony? In a market where people are buying homes left and right, people are selling homes left and right, kind of like the market we've had over the last handful of years. It's been a hot market in several markets across the United States and the world. So you simply just having a real estate license and a business card and going out to networking events or sending out an advertisement of some sort, you just need to put yourself out there in a great market and you will get business. There's no question. But lead generation takes time management. Lead generation takes purpose. Lead generation takes blocking your calendar. And the best of the best agents lead generate every single day like a religion. Now, they also have lead assumption going on. They do all the direct mailers. They all those things that we talked about, they're doing them. But when the market shifts, which is also another presentation that we're going to be going into in the next couple months, about being able to break records in any market, whether the market is a down market or an up market. But the difference of true hunters, true lead generators, mega agents, is that in addition to lead assumption, even in a good market, they still lead generate every day. Now, when the market shifts, lead assumption goes bye-bye. Why? Because you can't just put yourself out there. You can't just say, oh, I'm an agent, because the market doesn't have as many people nor activity in it, which means that lead assumption is not going to give you extraordinary results. So if you're not in the habit of lead generation every morning, that's going to be a significant issue when we shift in the next market. Whether it's a flat market or it goes down, some markets will be different from others. But if you are not in the habit of true lead generation every morning, be prepared for a big wake-up call. You need to get in the habit of this. All mega agents do it every single day. I'll tell you one thing though, out of everything, what lead generation is not. Lead generation, are you all ready for this? Be prepared. Lead generation is not door knocking. What? Did Tony just drop that? Oh yeah. No. Lead generation is not door knocking. Lead generation is not cold calling on a hardline phone at someone's house. Lead generation is not calling people on your cell phone or on their cell phone. Lead generation is not mailing people. Lead generation is not texting people. Lead generation is not emailing people. Lead generation is not even social media direct messaging people. None of that is lead generation. Everything you see right now on your screen, and for those that might just be calling in on audio, I showed a picture of a door with a red cross in it and a picture with a phone with a red cross in it. All these different things that I just mentioned, I said lead generation is none of those things. Why? Because those are all forms of communication. Those are not forms of lead gen. Those are forms of communication to be able to talk to another human being. Example, a pigeon. That's a form of communication with a little message tagged to it, correct? Right. I could probably send 1,000 pigeons out there with my business card tagged to their toe, and I'm sure I might get a listing from it. But that doesn't mean it's the most effective form of communication today, does it? So what is lead generation if it's none of those things that I just said? Well, think about it. Lead generation is simply one thing and one thing only. It's asking 20 people every single day, do you know anyone else who might be looking to buy or sell a home? See, all those things that we just mentioned, those are forms of communication in order to ask that question. Lead generation is simply asking the question to another human being, no matter what, and getting at least 20 people to respond to you and say, yes, they do know someone who might be looking to buy or sell a house, or no, they don't know anyone looking to buy or sell a house. So now that you know what lead generation is, meaning, once again, ask 20 people that question and get 20 people to respond to you, now you simply just have to choose your form of communication that you feel is the most effective form of communication to get to your 20. Do you understand that? Does that make more sense now? So when I hear people say, oh, I went door knocking today, I lead generated for 3 hours. Well, that was the form of communication you chose to lead gen. Did you ask that question to every single person you talked to? Now, let's go back, actually. I'm going to go back 2 slides, or 1 slide, and I want you to see the power word in there. It's asking 20 people every day, do you know anyone else? Which means I've already asked this person I'm talking to what? Are you looking to buy or sell a house soon? Or are you looking to do anything with your real estate this year? Now, a lot of people know that that would be lead generation. You're asking another human being the question, they're going to say, yes, I am, or no, I'm not. And contacts only count as people who respond to you. That being said, What if they said, no, I don't know anybody looking to do anything with their real estate? At least you know you exhausted all potential business out of that person. But what if you asked them, are you, and they said yes or no, right? They just, oh yeah, I'm looking to buy or sell something this year. And you're like, great, can I help you? And they're like, yeah. And then after you discuss that with them, you actually walked away from them, never asking them, and by the way, do you happen to know anyone else? Which means if you have not asked that question to someone, you have not exhausted all potential business out of that lead or out of that human being that you're in a conversation with. So I always want to leave, when I'm in purposeful lead generation, I want to leave that door, if door knocking is what I chose as my form of communication that day, or I want to hang up the phone if the phone was the form of communication that I was getting to my 20 that day, or texting or direct messaging. But I'm not going to end the conversation without asking that key word, do you know anyone else? Now, I hear a lot of times people might get weird about asking somebody that question. They say, well, I think that sometimes when I ask that question, the client might be like, well, why don't you just focus on me? Like, I don't necessarily want to refer you a friend of mine or refer you my neighbor because I want your focus to just be on me. It's all about, first of all, controlling conversation, being the true leader of any conversation that you're in, and never being controlled by another person when you are speaking to someone. Example, if somebody said that to me, I would literally reply with, oh, so you would have wanted a rookie. What do you mean? Well, you kind of want me to focus on you and no one else. So my thought behind that is you would have hired an agent who doesn't have any other business because you would have only wanted their focus to be on you. Well, no. I want somebody experienced. Well, experienced agents are going to have a lot of other people that they're dealing with. I'm simply just asking you if you happen to know someone else who also might utilize or need my services. Then I can even go a little further, because usually that is not a question that I hear. I don't hear them respond that way. What I do a lot of the times is I say it in a way where the person wouldn't not want to give me their family member or their friend. Example, how many people do you know that you may have asked the question to, or how many people do you think you've asked the question to, and maybe they did know someone, but they still said, no, I don't. So you don't actually know, right? There's no way to really know if they're telling the truth or not. They're just like, no, I don't really know anyone else. But that's simply when you just say, do you know anyone else looking to buy or sell a house? But it's all the language of sales. It's how we control the conversation. So my personal script, per se, or the way I do it is, so John, I can't wait to help you. I'm looking forward to being in business with you and getting to the goal that you want to achieve. Question, John. Do you know anyone else in your life right now, a friend, a family member, who would just thank you so much, where they would actually probably owe you like a huge favor if you referred them to me, and now they were able to get the value that you've now hired me for? And they would probably be like, John, thank you so much for referring us to this team. You're a rock star. And now I'd want you to use that favor, John. But do you happen to know someone else in your life that might get a lot of value from what you just got value from? See, that is the correct way of getting into conversations with people and making sure that we always exhaust as much business out of any potential person that we're in conversation with. I have a whole coaching session pretty much built around that will be coming up as a topic for our RISE group members. And it's the 3 habitual questions that top agents always ask. These are questions, or the way they ask the question, that they have made sure that they literally ask it all the time. They've created a habit of doing this. And the first one is what you're looking at right now. Do you know anyone else? Meaning they're always just exhausting that question and exhausting all potential business out of someone. But question number 2, that you need to create a habit and always asking anyone that you're talking to who maybe you're getting ready to list their house, or even a buyer. But this is the second question, is the one you asked with someone that is bringing you on as their agent. And this is when you say, and in addition to this property that you might be buying or selling with me, do you have any property anywhere else in the United States even that you're also looking to do something with this year? Well, yeah, I mean, I have a property in let's say that you're in Los Angeles where I'm in, and I asked that question to a client of mine, and then that client says, well, yeah, I have a property in Texas, but are you in Texas? No, but I have an amazing agent there who is perfect for you. By the way, I have no idea who that agent is, ladies and gentlemen, but I know that they're the perfect agent, and I know my client's going to love them. I'm not going to say, oh, would you like me to see if I can find you an agent there to help you? Because a lot of people, they won't. Or they'll say, yeah, send me their information, but a lot of people don't like to be kicked to the curb or referred to someone else that we don't know. So usually when you say, do you want me to find you someone, that means you don't know them. But if I ask that question, they go, well, yeah, I have another property in Texas. Are you in Texas? No, I'm not in Texas. But oh my goodness, you are going to love this agent that I can refer you. They are absolutely amazing. You know what? I actually want to learn a little bit more about your personality, because like I have 2 agents in mind. One's a lady, one's a guy. So I kind of want to, like, I might maybe want to ask you some more questions after our appointment and just see who I think might be the better one. And what did I just do there? Because I don't know if it's going to be a female agent or a male agent that I find. I actually don't even know who the agent is yet. So I'm leading it up to, I have 2 agents in mind. One's a lady and one's a guy, but I'm just trying to think which one I'd refer you. But I'll tell you what, let's finish the appointment and let me see what your personality is like. And then I think I'll know who to refer you to. And then I just set up the email, later that day or whatever, and I introduce them to whatever actual agent that I found in that area. So remember, lead generation is asking 20 people every single day, ladies and gentlemen. Do you know anyone else who also might be looking to buy or sell a home this year? Don't just ask the person you're talking to. Exhaust all potential business anytime we're in conversations. Now, lead generation does not count if we ask this question, and let's say that our form of communication that we chose that day to hit our 20, and I send it to 20 people via text in my phone, and I only get 10 people to say yes or no. Then I haven't hit my 20. Because even though I sent it to 20, I've only had 10 responses. So it's about getting the response. And it's okay if you guys and ladies get 50 no's. Don't worry, the yeses are coming. It's law of averages. But you have to get a response in whatever form of communication you used. So if you emailed someone, you need them to email you back. If you texted someone, you need them to text you back. If you knocked on their door, they're going to need to answer the door, not just leave your card at the front door. Now, going back to the forms of communication, now that we know what lead gen is, all those other things are forms of communication. Why do I show that? Why do I make sure that people understand that door knocking is not lead gen, it's a form of communication? Is because once you understand, okay, I got to get to 20 people every day, now you have to choose your form of communication, right? So some days, my wife, who's my business partner, and I, some days the form of communication we feel is best to get to our 20 might be door knocking, but it might be because we're knocking on 20 expires. And we think that door knocking is the best form of communication for that particular pool of business that we're going after. Maybe one day it's texting. Well, maybe one day it's emailing. But if you think some old dinosaur form of communication is still the best way to reach your 20 people every day, as in door knocking, meaning you're just farming, you're just literally cold calling. There's no warm, there's no hot. It's literally you just out there knocking on doors. If you still think that that form of communication is the most effective form to get to 20 people every day, go for it. I don't care. I just choose to use the most effective forms of communication today that have 10 times the ROI and take 20 times faster than any other form of communication. And that's where social media direct messaging comes into play, or texting. Everyone wants to respond in those two ways today. We all know that. No one's at home to answer a hardline phone for cold callers. No one wants to answer their cell phone if they don't identify the phone number. I told everybody 3 years ago who used direct dialers and all these dialer companies where you dial 3 people at a time. And I said, watch, litigation is going to come out to ban dialers. So all these people who just have these automated dialer systems that go up, it's going to get banned. And everybody said, no, it's not. Why would it get banned? Because people are frustrated. People don't like getting telemarketed like that. And sure enough, I don't know if any of you heard, about 5 months ago, Verizon and AT&T are now the first 2 cell phone companies who are now blocking any telemarketing, any automated dialer. Some of you on the call might have already seen your phones. When somebody calls you, it says spam risk or it says telemarketer. And you can also call Verizon and AT&T now and say you would like to pretty much stop all dialers and telemarketers from even calling your phone. And one click of a button, they'll block your phone from anything like that. So it's going to get worse and worse for people who use dialers. You've got to be willing to just get in front of a human being in some way of communication and ask the question authentically. And everybody wants to communicate in what ways today? Texting and social media. But remember, every form of communication does work. It just doesn't mean it's the most effective form to get to your 20 every day. That's the whole key, is we got to figure out what our time and energy, what we're willing to invest in our lead gen every morning, and what's going to get us to our 20 the most effective each and every day. Now, don't forget this statement. You have to get at least 20 people to respond and say yes or no. Let's talk about time management now. So we know the importance of lead gen. We get it. We have to do it, especially in markets where maybe things aren't coming in left and right. But Tony, I try so hard to lead generate, but I just get pulled from so many different angles. You know, if I have a deal that's in escrow or under contract, depending if you're calling from somewhere that you guys use law firms or escrow companies, but you're dealing with a client and this client pulls you left and right, and it takes you away from being able to do your lead gen that you actually blocked out time for that morning. Look, I get it, but it's because we're choosing to allow other things to come in front of our lead generation. It's not because we're busy. It's not because we had to allow something to interfere. It's because we chose for something to interfere. The whole philosophy behind this is time is by far our most precious resource. There is nothing that even comes close to how precious the resource of time is. The greatest, most successful people in the world literally block out their time and manage their time to the second. Do you realize that Bill Gates said one time that if he's walking along a sidewalk and he sees $100 bill on the sidewalk, that he actually doesn't stop, bend down, pick up the $100 bill, put it in his pocket, and keep walking? Why? Why do you think Bill Gates would pass $100 bill and not actually pick it up? It's because he says that he actually spent more money. He wasted more money taking the time out of his day, even though it only took 5 seconds to pick up that $100 bill. That's how much his time is worth. He makes more money in 5 seconds than the $100 bill he could have picked up. Personally, I like to think that I've gotten to the point in my life that I could walk by a dollar bill, and not pick it up. Like, you know what? I'm going to leave that for the next guy. Things are good for me. I like to think I've gotten to that point, a dollar. But if it's a $5 bill, I'm picking it up. But Bill, obviously, we know he makes more money in that 5 seconds, so he actually doesn't pick it up. That's what true successful people do every day. They actually know their calendar and make sure that nothing interferes with their most important work that they do every single day. They are masters at time blocking. So I want you on this call, I want you to become a master at blocking out your calendar and lead generating every single morning. I had a coaching client of mine who I coach one-on-one. She goes, Tony, I didn't lead generate yesterday. I had a home inspection at 9 o'clock in the morning. It was the only time they could do it. And she said, so I had to actually do that, but I'm going to see if I can make up for the time I missed yesterday. And I said, well, no, you didn't have to do the home inspection. You chose to do the home inspection instead of lead gen. Now, a lot of my coaching clients, for our listeners, they know I'm pretty intense when it comes to blocking out time for lead gen. And they do not like telling me that they didn't lead gen because they know what's coming. I had to tell her and remind her, no, see, what you're not understanding is you chose to allow that home inspection to come in between you and lead gen. No, Tony, look, I know that you're all about like lead gen and like, it's the only thing I should be doing and nothing should be interfered with it. And I need to block out my time and be undistracted. And I get it. But I had to. There's things that people have to do, Tony. I'm busy right now, and I had to do the home inspection. It was the only time he could do it, and I have buyers who are relying on me. No, once again, you chose to. Now, how do I prove this? Well, it's pretty easy. First, lead generation should actually be blocked in your calendars every single day indefinitely. So first and foremost, if I grabbed your phone right now out of your hand and I pulled up today and tomorrow morning and the next day and the next day and the next day, would I actually see a blocked time period for lead generation? So if I grabbed your phone, would I actually see this? Could I actually look at your phone and see, wow, they actually have lead generation blocked from 8 to 10, or let's say 9 to 11. We all have different schedules. I get it. We're not getting into the exact time you have to, but it should be in the morning. But we all have to give or take 30 minutes, an hour, depending on our worlds. But would I see that in there? Does it ping you the night before when you're going to bed, where you look at it and you see lead gen the next morning? Do you actually take it this seriously? Now, she did. Because I taught her to do this. I taught her to put lead gen and block it out in her morning calendars indefinitely, meaning it's just recurring for the rest of her life, every day, even Saturdays and Sundays. Even if she didn't do it on Saturdays and Sundays, she literally just puts it in forever. So it's there. And yet she allowed a home inspection to come in between her and lead gen, even though it's right there in her calendar. So when that home inspector said, hey, I can only do it at 9, she looked at her calendar and she saw lead gen and she said, sure, I can do it. Forget about lead gen. And often we do that a lot, right? We allow things to take us away from lead gen. Like as soon as somebody says, hey, do you mind coming over here? I need help with this. Yeah. Anything but lead gen. I would love to. And she goes, Tony, I'm going to disagree with you on this. I had to do it. So let's just drop it. And I said, I'm not going to drop it. You're telling me that if that home inspector had called you and said, I can only see the property at 9 a.m. this Thursday, and you're telling me that if this Thursday you had a listing presentation at 9 a.m., right? You would have said, so let's just see what changes right there. Notice the slide. We're going to go from lead gen right there, and now we're going to go to listing presentation. So if that home inspector said I can only do it at 9 a.m., and you looked at your calendar and saw that you were on a listing presentation, that you would actually say, okay, call your sellers that are potentially listing their house with you and say, is there any way we can change your listing presentation time? I have to go do a home inspection. So of course she said, well, no. And I said, why? Why wouldn't you allow a home inspection to take you away from a scheduled listing presentation? She goes, because I'm not going to risk losing that deal. Like, obviously I need to do the listing presentation, and I'll just tell him like he has. Oh, where are you going with that? So you are saying that it would have been possible to schedule him a different time, or if he couldn't, you would have found someone else if you truly had a listing presentation. But lead gen, oh, that was okay. That was okay to not do. But ladies and gentlemen, what actually gets listing presentations? Lead gen. And nothing else should come in between it. So there are only two things that I allow any of my coaching clients to come in between lead generation. Number one, listing presentation. Listing presentation is completely fine for you not to lead gen if you truly have a listing presentation. But showing property, that is not a good enough reason. Because showing property, first of all, is never a guarantee. You don't know if the buyer's going to even show up. Sometimes our buyers aren't even really qualified, or they decide not to buy. And the reason listing presentations are more important than buyers is because, first, if you're great at listing presentations, you know it's more of a guarantee. You're going to close them. But second, it's controlling the inventory. We always hear people who are great agents control the inventory. They have the most amount of listings. Listings are the king and queen of surviving any shift. Are you going to be able to survive any shift? Do you go after listings more than anything? Now, going back, number one, listings. Listing presentations, I'm totally fine with you not lead generating that morning, and you can make up the time a different day. And then the second thing that you can allow to interfere with lead gen is family, life. There's an emergency, children, something happened. Not children because you're just playing with them, but I mean like something came up with family and life, and of course you couldn't lead gen that morning. But besides those two things, nothing should interfere with it. And once I told her this, she pretty much started to understand, because I want you to always just think that lead gen is a listing presentation. Now, when you look at it in your calendar, will you actually allow anything to interfere with it? No, you won't. Just treat it like a listing presentation. Pretend it's already a blocked appointment and there's just nothing you can do about it. And trust me, the business or person or whatever was trying to pull you away from lead gen will still be there when you're done with lead gen. Now, I'm sure some of you see this is a screenshot of my calendar, so you probably are seeing other things in my calendar right now. We're going to actually do a topic soon about how to be masters at your own schedule. Right now, I'm just teaching you how to be masters of blocking out time for lead gen. But you notice right after lead gen, it says CMO, then it says COO. So to give you a little hint of what that is just remember that in business, you wear all of the hats in your business that any company has. Meaning you're the CEO, which is growth, but you're also the CMO. So do you block time out every day to make sure that you're getting the marketing done for your company as the chief marketing officer? Because unless you've hired a chief marketing officer, you're it, or the chief operating officer, or the CFO. So you can kind of see how people who run their business have to block out times to wear all the different hats. All right. Now, our next call is going to be on September 23rd, 2019 at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That topic is going to be online presence versus present online, knowing the difference and the correct approach. What that topic is going to go into is if we're out there generating leads, if we're out there trying to find our 20 people every single day to tell us yes or no, you're going to run out of people in your own phone. You're going to run out of people even in your database. You can never run out of people out in the public, just door knocking or whatever. You could just knock on doors forever. Or you could, go to door-to-door businesses. There's enough humans to never run out. But my philosophy behind online presence versus present online is how to build your amazing audience online and have relevance and an audience that would not have known who you were if it wasn't for social media today, digital media, video marketing, all the things that I write my books on, The Social Agent. So online presence versus present online is telling you the difference of having online presence, relevance, an audience that grows all the time, and that audience gets value in being connected to you, versus just being present online, meaning, Tony, I have a Facebook, I have a website, I have this, I have that. I'm present online, but they're not doing anything with it. So we're going to kind of dive deep into knowing the difference between the two things and then giving you an action plan to allow you to start achieving true online presence, relevance, and influence. Now, what I'd like to do is I want to open up the rest of the session right now for questions and answers about lead generation versus lead assumption. Any thoughts that you might have, this would be your opportunity to get those questions answered. I know that my director of operations, Nick, has been taking on questions right now. So I'm going to listen to see what he sends me right now. But does anybody have any questions as I pull these up? All right, it looks like we have a question from Hillary. We have a question from Hillary in Florida. And Hillary wanted me to go a little bit further into blocking out the time in the calendar. So Hillary, if I grabbed your phone and I looked at your calendar today, would it have said lead gen this morning? And if it didn't, the question is why? Because you're never going to get around to doing it if it's not actually in your phone. So you're going to actually block out the time starting today indefinitely from whatever time period you think you can fully commit to. But you have to fully commit. So that means it's in there, and you're going to create a habit of doing it every single day so that when somebody says, Hillary, can you actually meet us tomorrow? It's the only time we can see this property. You look at your calendar and you see lead gen, you're going to tell your client no. Just as if it said listing presentation, you would tell that client no. So I hope that helps, is that's what I'm talking about, is I want you to treat it like a true appointment that you normally wouldn't allow anything to interfere with. We have a question from Ray Lopez. Hey, Tony, you never gave us the last question that Mega Agents asked. Ray was listening. Let me give you the third question. So we all know the first question is making sure we always exhaust all business out of people. So the first question we say, so are you looking to do anything with real estate this year? And the person says yes or no. And let's just say they say yes, and I'd love your help, Tony. Awesome. Do you happen to know anyone else who also might be looking to do anything with real estate this year? So that's question number one. It's a habit. I ask it every chance I get. I don't just ask about their own stuff. I ask them if they know someone. Question number two was, Do you have property anywhere else, anywhere in the United States even, that you're also looking to do something with in addition to this house that you're listing with me? Because that's where referrals come in. Oh, and here's the funny thing. I didn't even tell you all this. The agent who I was just telling you about for lead gen, and her and I were in a little quarrel or debate. She actually got taught the 3 habitual questions, and 2 days after I taught her to start asking question number 2 every chance she got, she called me and said the first people that she asked that question to were buyers of hers who were buying and retiring in her market. And she asked them, by the way, are you doing anything else with real estate anywhere else? Are you selling a house or anything? And they go, well, yeah, like 5 hours away where we're moving from. And then we also have a house in California outside of Los Angeles that we thought we were going to retire in, but we're not. So we're going to list that. And who did she know in Los Angeles to handle her real estate? Her coach, Tony Giordano. So she actually ended up getting 2 referrals. One was $2.5 million sale, and the one she referred us was a $4 million sale. And about 5 months later, she got a check from me for $28,000. So not only did the habitual question help her, it actually ended up helping me. So everybody on this call, I just wanted you all to know that if you ask that question and they say, well, yeah, I have a property in California, just remember, I'm here if you want to help me out. The third question is make sure you don't ask your peers. Make sure you don't ask your other agents in your office if they know a good plumber, or, hey, do you know a good handyman? Or why are we asking fellow agents for help in finding a quality person instead of our own spheres? So the third habitual question is always make sure you take the time to use your own database, or go on Facebook or Instagram and ask the question there. Hi, friends. Do you know anybody who is a really good plumber? A client of mine needs a plumber. What did that just do? That reminded them that you're an agent. It also made sure that they knew you're an agent that actually has business because you said my client. And you're using your own sphere for referrals. Don't use other agents who say, oh yeah, call my plumber. And now that plumber is thanking who? They're thanking your competitor for referring you to them. So the habitual questions is the third one is make sure you use your own sphere when you reach out to people to ask for referrals or resources or allied partners of any sort. Eric DiNardo, he asked the same question. And then he asked the same question. Listen, Pratt, is there a specific time period of the day you prefer to lead generate? Now, whether you're a real estate agent, you're a loan officer, you're an insurance agent, lead generation is the exact same thing. It's blocking out our time every single morning to go out and prospect and find people and find business. The best hands down time will always be the morning. Now, if you've all heard of a book, there's a book out there called The One Thing. The One Thing is a phenomenal book that dives deep into the 6 lies between us and success. The 6 lies, like somebody lied to you, the 6 lies. We're going to be doing that very soon, and I'm going to be going over the 6 lies in a webinar. You'll get the topic emailed to you. But one of those things is our willpower. That the lie or the myth is our willpower is always on will call, which it's not. Our willpower can't just be brought on whenever we want it. So our willpower is at the highest level every single morning. The second we wake up, that's when we should go to the gym. Why? Because by the end of the day, if some things have happened in life, maybe you were in a fender bender, an escrow fell out, a loan of yours got declined, and now you have to tell your clients that they can't get a loan for the house that they're buying. Whatever it might be, life happens and our willpower goes down like a battery on our cell phone throughout the day. So by the end of the day, if you haven't lead generated, you're not gonna, because your willpower is so low that come 4 o'clock in the afternoon, if you're like, okay, I got a lead gen, I didn't do it this morning. And then somebody walks in your office and says, hey, you want to go to happy hour? Yeah, let's go. Right? So we have to do our most important work, which is generating business, at the highest amount of willpower, which is always in the morning. And we'll go further into that, but I definitely truly believe the morning time is the best time for lead generate. Besides, as an agent, I'm going to go to expireds maybe in the evening when I know they're home, because that's probably the best time of the day to get in front of an expired so I can do my expired script and create the conversation and get on a listing appointment. But overall, lead generation should be every single morning. Lori Owen. How are you, Lori? She asked the same question. So a lot of you, we're getting a lot of people who actually asked that, what was the third question? So I hope that helped. And we have actually another question coming in right here. I see, going back to lead assumption. A lot of people consider the things that I said in lead assumption, lead generation. And Tony, she's asking, you didn't consider that lead gen. How do you not consider going to a networking event and handing out your business card to somebody you just had a conversation with about real estate and that you're an agent and they said they might be selling their house soon? How is that not lead generate? Well, you didn't actually ask them if they're going to sell their house or buy a house. You were just talking about real estate. And so it was lead assumption, assuming that maybe there was a lead behind it. And then, of course, they said, well, I think I might be selling my house soon. And now a conversation has started. And now the next time you talk to that person, that's going to be your opportunity to truly lead generate them. Because even though you might be at their house now for their appointment, what are you going to ask them when you leave? And by the way, do you happen to know anyone else? Billboard, direct mailers, all those things that I said were lead assumption, because you're just assuming it's going to produce a lead by putting yourself out there. You have got to block the time out every morning to find 20 human beings in some form of communication to tell you yes or no on everything that we discussed today. I'm getting another one. Oh, what form of communication do you think is the best vehicle to lead generate? Oh, this goes back to Lori again. So that's perfect, Lori. What forms of communication do people want to communicate on to this day more than anything? Texting and social media. How do you do that? Anybody on this call right now, I guarantee you, if you send 100 people in your phone a text right now individually, and you do it to 100 people who are just in the contact, in your contacts on your phone, and you started a conversation like, hey, how's it going? And they reply, oh, it's going good. How are you? Oh, work is crazy. It's super busy right now. Just people buying homes. And you start the topic of real estate and you conclude that conversation. By the way, do you happen to know anybody looking to buy or sell a house this year? We had a goal of helping 100 families achieve the American dream in 2019. Would love an intro. I guarantee you, if you start 100 conversations right now on your phone and you end with that, you will have 1 to 5 leads. So the best form of communication is whatever it is that you're doing. So texting people in my phone, that would be the best form for that day. The next day, I might have to call out of area agents. And I think that the best way to reach them is going to be actually calling and picking up the phone. The next day might be emailing. But let's not forget, which ways do people prefer to communicate today? It's social media and text. And we're going to go into my action plan in the coming weeks where I teach people how to use social media to lead generate. I provide you the script. I walk you through the 5 phases of what you do in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5. And then phase 5 is actually going in for the kill per se, and actually asking for business. But there's 4 phases over a period of 1 to 3 months that I make people do before you start asking people on social media for business. There's an art to it. So, but to answer your question, definitely texting and social media are the best forms of communication today. Do you do CMO, COO, CFO tasks daily every other day, or do you alternate them? CEO is every day. Why? Because CEO is growth. We have to grow our companies. We have to grow our brand without question. So I have to act as the CEO of my business every single day like a religion. And what is that? Lead gen. CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, I have to do that every day. Now, mind you, what I used to have to do was by myself, and I had to block out that time. Now that time slot is meeting with my head of marketing and making sure that all of our marketing is getting done correctly, campaigns are going out, proofreading anything that I might have to overlook, or a new logo that we're coming out with, whatever it might be. But until I hire a chief marketing officer, which is now our marketing director, I had to do it back in the day. And there's no way you can ever allow marketing not to be done every day. So you have to slot that time out and act as a CMO. COO, Chief Operating Officer, everything behind the curtain, every single day. Like I said, we're going to get into this topic in the coming weeks. Look for it when we email it to you. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I will say that you also mentioned CFO, Eric. CFO I did once a week until I could hire my own accountant who does it now. But CFO, I had to act as the Chief Financial Officer every single week, once a week, and go over my profit and loss, expenses, what's making money, what's not. Is there any expenses we can cut so our profits go up? So that was more of a once a week thing. But CEO, CMO, and COO are every single day. And then Ray Lopez, we have time for 2 more questions. Ray Lopez, are you coming back to the North Florida region to teach anytime soon? Love to spend some time with you and your mad skills. Oh, thank you, Ray. I appreciate the compliment. I am coming back to Northern Florida. We have not confirmed the date yet, but it's very soon. It's going to probably be in the next 90 days. They're just working out a couple days. So always just remember, any of you can go to my website, Giordano.global, Giordano.global, click on speaking tour, and then you will see where in America I will be in the coming months for scheduled live trainings where I'm actually in person training an audience or teaching a particular topic. And then last but not least, you haven't mentioned open houses. Do you think they are worth our time? That was a moment of silence, because it's like, well, yeah, sometimes they are and sometimes they're not. So I feel that open houses can actually generate a lot of business. There's nothing wrong with putting yourself out there and doing the duty of an agent. I always say that the more we put ourselves out there, it attracts business. And you never know when that person's going to walk into an open house that you're holding and needs you as their agent, or buy the house that is your listing, and you're double ending it at that point. But what are we doing to lead generate those people? So yes, I'm a big believer at anything that gets you in front of humans. So open houses would be one of them. However, what are we doing with those leads? Are we following up? Are we following up all the time, every day, to make sure we stay on top of those leads? And a lot of us don't. So a lot of us do the open house. Some people sign in, some people don't. Even the people who sign in, we follow up once, maybe twice. They say they already have an agent, and then we stop. I already have an agent is the number one lie that people say when they walk into an open house. First of all, if you're a good agent, you're almost always at showings with your clients. So for somebody to say, I already have an agent, I'm just looking, it's usually a lie. But let's just say they did, that's fine. Small percentage of people, they might not respond to you, but stay following up with them until they tell you that. Most of the people, though, who say that don't have an agent. They just don't want to be hassled. So you have to have a plan of action to always stay on top of people. And a lot of agents just don't take it seriously. And that's also another topic that I teach is conversion. Today was lead generation. Lead conversion is actually the hardest thing to do in our business. Generating a lead is the easiest thing. And I've said that in front of audiences where they're like, wait, what? Everybody tells me lead generation is the hardest thing, and I feel like it's the hardest thing. And you're the first coach that I've ever heard say lead generation is piece of cake, because it is. There's no question. Generating a lead, ladies and gentlemen, is so easy. I could walk into Starbucks right now in front of all of you with 10 people standing in front of me in the line at Starbucks and say, anyone who knows somebody who's getting ready to buy or sell a house, your coffee's on me. And I'm sure some random person is going to turn around in that line and say, my brother's going to be selling his house. Tall, skinny, vanilla latte, please. Lead generation is cake. Why? Because you're simply asking the question of human beings and getting a yes or a no. Lead conversion is the hardest thing. And that takes systems and perseverance and leverage. And we're going to be diving deep into that. So open houses, yes, but make sure you're not wasting your time by not following up with these people. Somebody asked me a few months ago, Tony, when do you stop following up with someone who's a potential deal? And I say, when that person tells me, Tony, don't ever call me again, you psycho realtor. Until the day I hear that, I'm going to stay on any potential person that I think is going to buy or sell a house soon. I will stay on them like white on rice. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you got a lot of value from it. Always make sure that you feel free to email our office for other questions. You all have the system. You all have our contact information. Make sure your calendars are blocked for lead gen, but also make sure your calendars are blocked for this next call and coaching session on September 23rd, 2019. Love you all. Thank you for being on the webinar today. Bye-bye.